my name is Caden Carr, and I'm a software engineer at General Dynamics Mission Systems, and welcome to this video on machine learning and computer vision. In the world we live in today, we are surrounded by technologies that are getting smarter and smarter every day. From self-driving cars to rovers that have landed on other planets, computers seem to be getting more intelligent everywhere you look. And you have no doubt heard the phrase artificial intelligence used a number of times when talking about how smart our computers are getting. Today, I'd like to talk to you briefly about one small aspect of how our computers are learning to make choices on their own, and then show a demonstration of how you can teach your computer to make choices on its own too, and recognize images. When we talk about teaching computers to understand the world around us, that teaching process is often referred to as machine learning. When we get more specific about recognizing images and processing them, we're talking about the ability for computers to see the world around us like we do. One of the most common examples is self-driving cars that use cameras to see the environment around the car. However, what a computer sees and what we see are quite different. Let's take a look at an example first to get a better understanding of this principle. We can see a picture of a cat. Now, it's a little bit blurry, but how do we know it's a cat? Well, we recognize the eyes, the ears, a nose, and some whiskers, and the cat's fur. But as humans, our brains know this from having seen many cats before, and having learned this, we know how to recognize a picture of a cat. Computers, though, who only understand with ones and zeros and reds and greens and blues, have to learn to recognize cats in a way that they can understand and use to recognize new pictures. Now, let's see a visualization of how a computer might see this same picture. Here, we see vague regions that might kind of overlap to this cat picture, but the complex math used by computers can use these representations of colors, shapes, and pixels to slowly build what is called a model of a cat. Once these models are created, they can then be used in real life to try and identify objects in the real world or objects in pictures. One of the difficulties of teaching computers to see is knowing how good of a job a computer is at doing at identifying an object. Imagine a computer whose job it is to identify a good or a bad airbag as they are produced in a factory. If a bad airbag is labeled as good, the results of this mistake could be very bad. That's why training a computer to identify objects with high accuracy is a very difficult task, and sometimes there isn't a lot of room for mistakes. Now, I'd like to show you how you can train your own computer vision model using an amazing online tool. But before we begin, we need to decide what we want our model to recognize. I'm going to use dogs in my example, but you can choose whatever you want. Now, in order to train our model, we need to gather several pictures of, in my case, dogs to use to teach the model what a dog is. And we also need many images and pictures of what is not a dog, so the model can decide what is not a dog when teaching itself. I've done this work beforehand to gather my pictures, but feel free to either use pictures from the internet or take pictures with your computer's web camera. A very important part of training a model is having enough images and data for the model to get a good idea of what is and is not the object you're trying to recognize. As you'll see in my example, not having enough data can affect how accurate your computer's model is. Now, let's take a look. All right, this is the website that we're going to be using to train our own computer vision model. The website is machinelearningforkids.co.uk. Now, in order to get started, you don't need to even make an account. You can just click right here on the Get Started button, and we're going to try it without registering for now. Once we arrive on this page, we're going to start our own project by clicking over here on the Add a New Project button. Now let's give our project a name. Mine's going to be Computer Vision Dogs. And then it's going to ask you what you want to recognize in this project. And we're going to do images. Go ahead and click Create. And after that, we can click on our new project by clicking on this banner here. Now, there are several steps in making our own computer vision model. The first part is to train our model on what is and is not our object. So let's click on the train button and start over here by adding a new label. So the first set of pictures that we're going to add are pictures of the object itself. So I'm going to do dogs. Likewise, we're also going to add a label for not dogs. If you remember, in order to train our computer vision model, we have to have both images of what is the object we're trying to recognize and images of what is not the object we're trying to recognize. Now, I'm going to take some time here and I'm going to add my pictures of dogs to this window here. Alright, as you can see here, I finished adding all of my images of dogs. When you're adding your object, be sure to include at least 5 pictures of your object, but more is better in this case. The more objects that you have examples of, the better your model will learn. Now, I'm going to take time to do the same thing. I'm going to find images that do not contain dogs in them and add them to this space over here. Alright, we're almost there. Now, if you see on the right, I finished adding my pictures of not dogs. You can use absolutely anything from trees to foods to elephants. Really anything works. And if you want to use objects in your own home, you can even use your web camera to take pictures. For example, if I turn on mine, this picture of me definitely falls underneath the category of not dogs and will work just fine. Now, if we go back to our project and click the test button, we are ready to ask this website to create a machine learning model for us. Now, while this prepares, you'll need to use different pictures and different images to test your model. That's because if I showed it the same picture that it trained with, it's going to know with 100% certainty that that's a picture it's seen before and whether or not it's a dog or not. We want to use new pictures to try and test how accurate our model is. For example, I have a picture of a dog here that I did not use to train my model. Now, when I come down here into this testing area, I can use that website with the new picture of a dog and test whether or not it thinks that that's a picture of a dog. As you can see, our machine learning model said that this is a dog and it's 75% sure that that's the right answer. Now, this percentage will vary based on how many pictures you include of your object and how varied those pictures are. For example, though, if I were to reuse a picture of myself, you can notice that it's 100% confident that that is not a dog. That's because when we trained our machine learning model, it already saw a picture of me and is completely certain that that is the right label to call it not a dog. Now you can experiment with a webcam, with drawing, or with different pictures from the internet to see how accurate your model is. And you can try including more pictures of dogs or not dogs or whatever your object is to see how good your machine learning model is. So that's it. I'm curious to see what you trained your model to recognize and how good you can get your accuracy score to be too. The topics of machine learning and computer vision are growing rapidly, and as you saw in this video, not all of it is too crazy to wrap your head around as you might think. Thanks for tuning in and have a great day.